All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're tackling a really important and, deeply personal topic. We're going to talk about how husbands living with ALS can navigate that journey inside their marriage. And this isn't just about coping, right? It's about actively strengthening that connection, adapting together, and finding new ways to experience joy as partners.
Right out of the gate, this quote really sets the tone for our entire conversation. It's so powerful. It's a reminder that a diagnosis, it doesn't define who you are, and it sure doesn't define your marriage. That core stuff, the love, the support, the dreams you share, that doesn't go anywhere. That's the bedrock. That's what we're building on today.
Okay, so our first section really dives into this idea, a husband's enduring role. You see, the journey with ALS, it's all about adaptation, for sure, but it doesn't in any way diminish the central role you play in the partnership. In fact, what often happens is it uncovers new kinds of strength and opens up new doors to contribute to the relationship in really profound ways.
And this is where things get really interesting. It's about reframing the whole narrative. So instead of seeing the challenges that come with ALS as just obstacles to get over, think of them as catalysts for growth. It's kind of like navigating this path together can actually reveal these incredible depths of commitment and resilience you might not have even known were there. And what you can end up with is a bond that is stronger than it ever was before.
So, that idea of growth, it leads us right into our next section, which is all about finding new ways to connect, specifically through communication and emotion. Because let's be real, this is where the rubber meets the road. It's where the partnership is tested and where it's strengthened every single day.
Okay, so what's the challenge here? Well, it can seem logistical on the surface, but it's deeply emotional. When it takes so much more effort to get your thoughts out, or maybe your energy for a long conversation just isn't there, it's totally natural for frustration or misunderstandings to start creeping in, and that's a real, completely valid difficulty that so many couples face.
But here's that shift in perspective again. It's so powerful. That very frustration with communication, what if it's actually an opportunity for something deeper? When you have to be more deliberate about how you talk, it kind of forces this really intentional dialogue. And you know what comes from that? Often, it's more clarity and more empathy than you've ever had before.
So how do you actually do this? What does it look like in real life? Well, it all starts with being proactive. We're talking about simple but game-changing things, like scheduling regular distraction-free talks, or using adaptive tools. I mean, the tech is amazing these days. And even just having a quick daily emotional check-in. It's all about consciously building a whole new communication toolkit and doing it together.
And this is a perfect example of what that active listening thing actually sounds like. See, it's not just about hearing the words, right? It's about reflecting them back to show, hey, I get it. A simple sentence like this one, it validates your partner's feelings. And just like that, what could have been a point of friction becomes a moment of collaboration. It says, we're on the same team here.
All right, that spirit of teamwork, of collaboration, that's absolutely key as we shift gears a little bit. We're moving from the purely emotional side of things to the super practical. So let's talk about adapting daily life, specifically household roles and intimacy.
So a really common challenge, it's that shift in who does what day to day. When your spouse starts taking on more of the physical tasks, it can really affect your sense of contribution. And of course, it affects their energy levels too. The most important first step is just acknowledging the emotional weight of this change for both of you.
And here we go again with that shift in perspective. It's everything. This isn't about a loss of independence. No way. It's a chance to operate as a really conscious, collaborative team. It's about finding brand new ways to contribute by playing to each other's different strengths.
The strategies here, they're all about teamwork. It's about having those open, honest conversations about who's doing what. It's about using modern conveniences to your advantage, delivery services, and leveraging all that cool tech, like voice-activated smart home stuff, to help manage the household together. And please, never ever underestimate the power of just saying thank you for what the other person is doing. It goes a long, long way.
This brings us to a really important and kind of beautiful concept, adaptive intimacy. So what's that? Well, it's about broadening your definition of what intimacy even means. It's not just about the physical. It's about exploring all the ways you can connect, emotionally, spiritually, and letting your expression of closeness grow and evolve right alongside your relationship.
And there's so many creative ways you can nurture this, It could be writing or dictating a love note, sharing one of those deep, meaningful conversations, or just planning a quiet date night at home. Maybe you listen to some favorite music or just sit and watch the stars. All these little things, they reinforce that deep emotional bond, and that, right there, is the foundation for every other kind of intimacy. Okay, for our final section, we're going to zoom out and look at the big picture. How do you build a partnership that's truly resilient? It all comes down to teamwork, self-care, and looking toward the future, together.
You know, the real secret to resilience is treating every single challenge like a team effort. And that means taking practical steps. Things like having weekly meetings to check in on needs and goals, or planning shared projects like creating a memory book to stay connected. And a big one, learning to delegate tasks to your wider support network. It's all about making sure both of you feel heard, you feel valued, and you're in this together.
Now, a hugely critical piece of this whole puzzle is mutual self-care. And I want to be really clear, this is not selfish. It is absolutely essential for the health of your partnership. Encouraging your spouse to take a break, that is an act of love. Just like it's an act of love to find time for your own calming activities, whether it's reading or meditation. This is the stuff that prevents burnout. This is what sustains you both for the long haul.
And remember, you absolutely do not have to do all of this alone. Building and then actually leaning on a strong support network, your friends, your family, professionals, it's so crucial. They can help with the practical stuff, and that frees up so much vital energy, emotional and physical, so you can focus on what really, truly matters most, your marriage.
And that really brings us to our final thought here. You know, we've talked a lot about adaptation, communication, and resilience, but when you boil it all down, at its heart, this is about one thing: continuing to build a life that's just filled with love and connection. So we're going to leave you with a question to think about. What's the most meaningful moment you can create together today?